Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad you have spent the last day with us. So I am your host and owner of Blu Sky Retreats. So I hope you're having a good self-care conference. So I wanted to get on this morning to talk a little bit about why self-care is important. Before I begin, I want you to know that I took some notes. So if you see me looking down a little bit, it's because I'm trying to get out all of this good information to you. So what I would say is over the past year and a half, I think we've all had to adapt to a new way of living, whether it was learning our emotional boundaries or learning how to live in an environment where we're used to only spending a couple of hours and now we're, kind of quarantined inside. And hopefully for a lot of you, you've gone ahead and learned new skills or took a new class, which is wonderful. And I hope that you enjoyed all of that. But I think what we need to ask ourselves in these times is, why is self-care important? Not only why is self-care important, but how do you define self-care? So for me, self-care is about taking some time to do things that make me feel fulfilled and or bring me joy. And I know that sounds really trendy right now, but the truth of the matter is you have to find something that makes you a better version of yourself. So whether it's journaling or whether it's reading self-help books, buying bath bombs, whatever it is that you do that fulfills you and makes you feel like a better version of yourself is the way that I define self-care. And so when I say, why is self-care important? It's one of those things where personally you need to ask yourself, why do you think self-care is important? And then if you can't come up with an answer, because it is really a question that at this moment is sort of this huge trend. And so you can kind of get influenced by what other people think is self-care. I need you to sit down and define self-care. So what does that mean for you? So the way that I look at how you would go about creating a self-care routine that works for you is you need to take some time, and not like 5 minutes. And it doesn't have to be all day, but take some time to really think about the things that you do on a daily basis, because we are all busy. We all have things that we need to get done. And for a lot of us, we do them unconsciously. So we don't even know. It's just sort of a habit. We're going here, we're taking our kids there, that we don't realize that even those small things, you can find some kind of joy in doing those. So today, or in the next week, or when you go back and watch some of the other speakers that we had during the self-care conference, take some time to sort of look at your whole routine, your whole everyday routine. So we're at this point, we are not looking at self-care, we're looking at what we do all day long. And we have to do that so that when we stop to think, why is self-care important personally to yourself, you now know that you have all of these items that need to get done. And then you need to sort of fit yourself, sort of place yourself in that schedule of things that you know need to get done. So maybe, for example, you're sitting in the car lane waiting for your child to come out of school. That 5 minutes could be your self-care, right? So during that 5 minutes, you could meditate, you could be listening to a book, you could be breathing, just inhale, exhale, taking some time to sort of get your thoughts together. And while you're doing it, you're probably not thinking that that's self-care, but in the end, it is actually helping you become a better version of yourself. Just taking that 1 minute, that 5 minutes, those 20 seconds, whatever, however much time you can fit into your schedule to sort of stop and say, hey, let me make myself better for the people around me, but also for myself. And what I would like for you to do is try to fit those moments into your schedule, because I know everyone's busy. We all have a lot of things that we're doing. We also have social media that's sort of, consuming most of our time, or we're all watching TV. So there are always things that will be a distraction. And honestly, it's fine. It's okay if you can become aware of how you're spending your time. I think that is probably the most important thing for people who are super busy, is become aware of how you spend your time throughout the day. Once you become aware, you kind of get an idea of why self-care is important, how you will define that self-care, and then how you'll fit those little moments into your routine. Okay, so now let's say during this week, you go through and you realize that, okay, you have 5 minutes here, or you have, a Sunday afternoon here where you can fit that time into your daily schedule or your weekly routine. So you don't necessarily have to come up with a whole huge plan of your self-care, because I think also, what comes with being trendy is the idea that you need to stop everything you're doing and go sit in the bathtub for an hour and drink your wine and read your book all at the same time. And I think when you try to include that in your schedule, you sort of get discouraged, because then you start feeling a certain kind of way, like you're feeling selfish, or like you're feeling like you're not taking care of your family, or you're not taking care of your priorities. And then self-care becomes this weird, like, it's not really working for me kind of situation, which is why I feel like if you go through and look at your schedule and you try to fit those moments in where you can help yourself become a better version of who you are, then those moments will become your self-care routine. Those moments will help you become more fulfilled. Those moments will increase. So let's say you did 5 minutes on Monday. By Wednesday, maybe you realize I have, 5 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon. So your self-care routine becomes a routine. It increases, it expands and helps you become a better version of yourself. So before I end, I want to talk about how you can take all of those moments and maintain them throughout your entire life. So I think also what comes with being trendy and self-care is, if it doesn't work at this moment, you kind of drop it and it doesn't become part of who you are. And I completely understand that there are a lot of things that are just not right for you, or you just need the right tools. And so I think that coming up with a couple of items that maybe could help you get a clearer understanding of how to maintain the self-care once you realize that you can fit it into your schedule, is probably something that can help you, or I wouldn't say help you, but something that becomes who you are. So we want self-care to be this, not a word, self-care, but something that you do, that becomes part of your routine, that becomes a habit that you don't even realize you're doing it, but while you're doing it, it's making you a better person. And the first thing I would say is, understand that you're responsible for this, not me, not the environment, not your best friend or your husband or your wife. no one else is responsible for this but you. So I think the first thing that most people don't understand when they start the self-care trend or the self-care routine is you're only accountable to yourself. So you need to be responsible. You need to look into this. You need to do some research. You need to find the time. And again, time doesn't have to be all day. Time can be 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, but you have to want to become a better person. You have to want to become a better version of who you are. You want to be authentic, then this is the first step to becoming authentically yourself. The next thing I would say is become aware of your triggers. So it seems like a weird way to maintain self-care, but the truth of the matter is when you become aware of your triggers, you don't go flailing emotionally or physically or, lose track of time or who you are. If you are aware of the triggers that puts you down that path, then you can respond instead of react. And the reason you would need to be aware of those triggers is, let's say something happens and you are just super angry and super frustrated. And so you try to do some trendy self-care in this area to get yourself back to, let's say, your true north, your true center. And you think that that is self-care, but in all honesty, that's not really fulfilling or not making you a better version of yourself. You are at a point where, let's say, over here is, you've reached your limit of anger, frustration, stress, anxiety, whatever it is, and you know the couple of things you need to do to get yourself here. But the truth of the matter is self-care is about going over there. Self-care is about making yourself a better version of yourself, making yourself a better person for yourself and for your environment and for your family and for your friends. And so learning your triggers and becoming aware of them, right? Sometimes you can't stop yourself from getting super angry, or you can't avoid the situations where you're stressed or frustrated. But knowing that, okay, I feel that I'm getting really close to this level, let me sort of rein myself in before I start my self-care routine. I think it will help you understand self-care a little more and understand it enough to make it part of your routine. Because once you start feeling good and feeling fulfilled and feeling that joy, you want more of that, right? So we want to try to learn when we're in this over here in this area of, legit stressed anxiety, frustration. We want to bring ourselves back to true north, true, like your center. And then we want to work on our self-care so that the feeling that we get from doing those items, no matter what they are, and they can be the trendy things. You can read self-help books. You can, even if it's just like, I'm going to spend a day that's not technology. So I'm going to not watch TV or, not get on social media that day. All of that will create a feeling that you as a human want to feel more of. And when you want to feel more of something, you're going to do everything that you can to try and get there as much as possible. And so to me personally, that is what self-care is. So try to pay attention to those triggers that send you in the wrong direction. And then when you are aware that you are in that wrong direction, do whatever you need to do to bring yourself back to who you are, to bring yourself back to your original state of mind before you start your self-care routine. Because self-care is more about quality than quantity. So you don't have to do self-care every day, but if self-care helps you every day, do self-care every day. But for those of us who have limited time, it's really not about the number of times you do self-care. It's really about the quality of that time that you spend doing self-care. Because remember, you're trying to become fulfilled, you're trying to bring joy into your life, and you're trying to make yourself authentically better. So you don't want to just be, I am me, this is who I am. You should be literally trying to learn new things, to become a better person. All of this is part of being a human, evolving, growing, expanding. That's everything that we all want. But you have to know how to get there. And I think a lot of us are starting from, let's say, all the way over, on the left. And once we do, the small self-care and we get back to who we are, we don't feel fulfilled. So we stop doing self-care. And so it's really, really, really important that you pay attention to your triggers. So I think in summary, I think I would say you need to define self-care for yourself. Yes, buying the trendy products or reading the books or journaling and things like that, all of that stuff is important. But if you don't know why you're doing it, or if it's not fulfilling you or bringing you joy, then really it's kind of a waste of time. So make sure you know your why. Your why is the most important thing. And also, I think there is a saying that says you can't pour from an empty cup. So at the end of the day, if you're not taking care of yourself first, then really what kind of care are you giving the people around you? So if you are a person who feels like your natural state is nurturing, and I completely understand that, but if you're not nurturing yourself, then the care that you're giving to others is really not from a place where they feel that emotion from you. It kind of feels like you're going through the emotions and just doing it. So you want to make yourself and others feel that feeling from you. And that can come from self-care if you are in a place where you're doing it from, I'm trying to get that fulfilled moment or that joy in my life. And then that joy will spread to the people around you. So I think the other saying is pay it forward. Once you get to your true north and you learn your self-care and you're becoming this better version of yourself, go out there and help other people do the same. So paying it forward also is a form of self-care. So once you get the self-care for yourself, help the people around you, because we're all looking to become better versions of ourselves. And so I think the way that most people feel these days has changed the way that they do things. So you're looking for instant gratification, and self-care is not one of those like ideas that you can just think that you're going to do one thing and you'll feel better and you'll feel better forever. It's one of those, self-care is a thing that you have to do on a consistent basis to maintain that level of fulfillment and that level of joy. So I would say, guys, find your why, and then create a routine or find some time in your schedule and become the self-care person that will help others with their self-care journey, because we're all looking for tools and items and anything that we can use to sort of make ourselves a better person. And with that, I would say see you guys later. I have another session coming up next, so make sure you join me, and go back and watch the replays of the other speakers from yesterday. They were amazing. You would really, really enjoy it. And don't forget to check out BluSkyRetreats.com. We have conferences, workshops, retreats. We have all the good stuff that'll help you in your self-care journey. Bye.